Chapter 26. Why revives the tree with a spring of sweet water, as the poem goes. When living in the world you must be forbearing. Patience is essential when training oneself. Although it's often said that violence is good business, think before you act and never bully or be angry. True gentlemen who never strive are famed forever. The virtue-loving sages are renowned to this day. Strong men always meet stronger than themselves and end up as failures who are in the wrong. The great immortal Zen One held Monkey in his hand and said, "I've heard about your powers and your fame, but this time you have gone too far. Even if you manage to remove yourself, you won't escape my clutches. You and I shall argue it out as far as the western heaven, and even if you see that word of yours, you'll still have to give me back my man-fruit tree first. Don't try any of your magic now." "What a small-minded bloke you are, sir," Monkey replied with a laugh. "If you want your tree brought back to life, there's no problem. If you'd told me earlier, we could have been spared all this quarreling." "If you hadn't made trouble, I'd have forgiven you," said the great immortal. "Would you agree to release my master if I gave you back the tree alive?" Monkey asked. "If your magic is strong enough to revive the tree," the great immortal replied, "I shall bow you 8 times and take you as my brother." "That's easy then," said Monkey. "Release them and I guarantee to give you back your tree alive." Trusting him not to escape, the great immortal ordered that Sanzang, Pig, and Friar Sand be set free. "Master," said Friar Sand, "I wonder what sort of trick Monkey is up to." "I'll tell you what sort of trick Monkey is up to." "I'll tell you what sort of trick," ordered Pig. "A pleading for favor trick. The tree's dead and can't possibly be revived. Finding a cure for the tree is an excuse for going off by himself without giving a damn for you or me." "He wouldn't dare abandon us," said Sanzang. "Let's ask him where he's going to find a doctor for it." "Monkey," he continued, "why did you fool the immortal elder into untying us?" "Every word I said was true," Monkey replied. "I wasn't leading him on. Where would he go to find a cure? There's an old saying that cures come from over the sea. I'll go to the Eastern Sea and travel around the 3 islands and 10 continents, visiting the venerable immortals and sages to find a formula for bringing the dead back to life. I promise that I'll cure that tree. When will you come back? I'll only need 3 days. In that case, I'll give you 3 days. If you are back within that time, that will be all right, but if you are late, I shall recite that spell." "I'll do as you say," said Monkey. He immediately straightened up his tiger skin kilt, went out through the door, and said to the great immortal, "Don't worry, sir, I'll soon be back. Mind you look after my master. Well, give him tea 3 times a day and 6 meals, and don't leave any out. If you do, I'll settle that score when I come back, and I'll start by holding the bottoms of all your pants. If his clothes get dirty, wash them for him. I won't stand for it if he looks sallow. And if he loses weight, you'll never see the back of me." Go away, go away," the great immortal replied. "I certainly won't let him go hungry." The splendid Monkey King left the Westwan Temple with a bound of his somersault cloud and headed for the Eastern Sea. He went through the air as fast as a flash of lightning or a shooting star, and he was soon in the blessed land of Penglai. As he landed his cloud, he looked around him and saw that it was indeed a wonderful place. A poem about it goes, "A great and sacred land where the immortal sages still the waves as they come and go. The shade of the jasper throne cools the heart of the sky. The radiance of the great gate pillars shimmers high above the sea. Hidden in the colored mists are flutes of jade. The moon and the stars shine on the golden leviathan. The queen mother of the western pool often comes here to give her peaches to the 3 immortals." Gazing at the enchanted land that spread out before him, Brother Monkey entered Penglai. As he was walking along, he noticed 3 old men sitting around a chess table under the shade of a pine tree outside a cloud-wreathed cave. The one watching the game was the Star of Longevity, and the players were the Star of Longevity, and the players were the Star of Blessings and the Star of Office. "Greetings, respected younger brothers," Monkey called to them, and when they saw him, they swept the pieces away, returned his salutation, and said, "Why have you come here, great sage?" "See you," he replied. "I've heard," said the Star of Longevity, "but you have given up the way for the sake of the Buddha, and have thrown aside your life to protect the Tang priest on his journey to fetch the scriptures from the western heaven. How can you spare the time from your endless crossing of waters and mountains just to see us?" "To tell you the truth," said Monkey, "I was on my way to the west until a spot of bother held us up. I wonder if you could do me a small favor. Where did this happen? Ask the Star of Blessings, what has been holding you up? Please tell us and we'll deal with it." We've been held up because we went via the Wuzhuang Temple on the Mountain of Infinite Longevity, said Monkey. But the Wuzhuang Temple is the palace of the great immortal Zenyan, exclaimed the three immortals with alarm. Don't say that you've stolen some of his man fruit. What if I had stolen and eaten some? Asked Monkey with a grin. You ignorant ape, the three immortals replied. A mere whiff of that fruit makes a man live to be 360, and anyone who eats one will live 47,000 years. They're called ras-returning cinnabar of 10,000 longevities. And our way hasn't a patch on them. Man fruit makes you as immortal as heaven with the greatest of ease, while it takes us goodness knows how long to nourish our essence, refine the spirit, preserve our soul, harmonize water and fire, capture the kind to fill out the light. How can you possibly ask whether it would matter? There is no other miraculous tree like it on earth. Miraculous trees, scoffed Monkey. Miraculous tree. I've put an end to that miraculous tree. What? Put an end to it, the three immortals asked, struck with horror. When I was in his temple the other day, Monkey said, the great immortal wasn't at home. There were only a couple of boys who received my master and gave him 2 man fruits. My master didn't know what they were and said that they were newborn babies. He refused to eat them. The boys took them away and ate them themselves instead of offering them to the rest of us. So I went and pinched 3. 1 for each of us disciples. Those disrespectful boys swore and cursed at us no end, which made me so angry that I knocked their tree over with a single blow. All the fruit disappeared, the leaves fell. The roots came out, and the branches were smashed up. The tree was dead. To our surprise, the 2 boys locked us in, but I opened the lock and we escaped. When the great immortal came home the next day, he came after us and found us. Our conversation didn't go too smoothly and we started to fight him, but he dodged us, spread his sleeve out, and caught us all up in it. After being tied up, then flogged and interrogated for a day, we escaped again, but he caught up with us and captured us again. Although he had not an inch of steel on him, he fought us off with his whisk, and even with our free weapons, we couldn't touch him. He caught us the same way as before. He had my master and 2 brothers wrapped up in bandages and lacquered and was going to throw me into a cauldron of oil, but I used a trick to take my body away and escape, smashing that pan of his. Now that he has realized he can't catch me and keep me, he's getting a bit scared of me, and I had a good talk with him. I told him that if he released my master and my brothers, I'd guarantee to cure the tree and bring it back to life, which would satisfy both parties. As it occurred to me that cures come from over the sea, I came here specially to visit you 3 brothers of mine. If you have any cures that will bring a tree back to life, please tell me one so that I can get the Tang priest out of trouble as quickly as possible.
You ape, the 3 stars said gloomily when they heard this.
You don't know who you're up against. That Master Zenwan is the patriarch of the immortals of the earth, and we are the chiefs of the divine immortals. Although you have become a heavenly immortal, you are still only one of the irregulars of the great monad, not one of the elite. You'll never be able to escape his clutches. If you'd killed some animal, bird, insect, or reptile, great sage, we could have given you some pills made from sticky millet to bring it back to life, but that man fruit tree is a magic one and can't possibly be revived. There's no cure, none at all. When he heard that there was no cure, Monkey's brows locked in a frown, and his forehead was creased in 1,000 wrinkles. Great sage, said the Star of Blessing. Even though we have no cure here, there may be one somewhere else. That is so great! If there were anywhere else for me to go, Monkey replied, it would be easy. It wouldn't even matter if I had to go to the furthest corner of the ocean, or to the cliff at the end of the sky, or if I had to penetrate the 36th heaven. But the trouble is that the Tang Patriarch is very strict and has given me a time limit of 3 days. If I'm not back in 3 days, he'll recite the band-tightening spell. Splendid, splendid. Splendid, laughed the 3 stars. If you weren't restricted by that spell, you'd go up to heaven again. Calm down, great sage, said the Star of Longevity. There's no need to worry. Although that great immortal is senior to us, he is a friend of ours, and as we haven't visited him for a long time and would like to do you a favor, we'll go and see him. We'll explain things for you and tell that Tang monk not to recite the band-tightening spell. We won't go away until you come back, however long you take, even if it's a lot longer than 3 to 5 days. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, said Monkey. May I ask you to set out now, as I'm off? With that, he took his leave. The 3 stars went off on beams of auspicious light to the Westwang Temple, where all present heard cranes calling in the sky as the 3 of them arrived. The void was bathed in blessed glow, the Milky Way heavy with fragrance. 1,000 wisps of colored mist enveloped the feather-clad ones. A single cloud supported the immortal feet. Green and red phoenixes circled and soared as the aroma in their sleeves wafted over the earth. These dragons leant on their staffs and smiled, and jade-white beards waved before their chests. Their youthful faces were untroubled by sorrow. Their majestic bodies were rich with blessing. They carried star chips to count their age, and at their waists hung gourds and talismans. Their life is infinitely long, and they live on the 10 continents and 3 islands. They often come to bring blessings to mortals, spreading good things 100-fold among humans. The glory and blessings of the universe come now as happiness unlimited. As these 3 elders visit the great immortal on auspicious light, there is no end to good fortune and peace. Master, the immortal youths rushed to report when they saw them. The 3 stars from the sea are here. The great immortal Zhen Yuan, who was talking with the Tang priest, came down the steps to welcome them when he heard this. When Pig saw the star of longevity, he went up and tugged at his clothes. I haven't seen you for ages. You had it all. Oh, he said with a grin. You're getting very free and easy turning up without a hat. With these words, he thrust his own clerical hat on the star's head, clapped his hands, and roared with laughter. Great, great, great! You've been capped and promoted, all right. Flinging the hat down, the star of longevity cursed him for a disrespectful moron. I'm a moron, said Pig, but you're all slaves. You're most certainly a moron, the star of blessing replied. So how dare most certainly a moron, the star of blessing replied. So how dare you call us slaves, if you aren't slaves? Then, Pig retorted, why people always ask you to bring us long life, bring us blessings, and bring us a good job? Sanzang shouted at Pig to go away, then quickly tidied himself up and bowed to the 3 stars. The 3 stars greeted the great immortal as befitted members of a younger generation, after which they all sat down. We have not seen your lustrous countenance for a long time, the star of office said, which shows our great lack of respect. The reason we come to see you now is because the great sage Monkey has made trouble in your immortal temple. Has Monkey been to Penglay? The great immortal asked. Yes, replied the star of longevity. He came to our place to ask for a formula to restore the elixir tree that he killed. As we have no cure for it, he has had to go elsewhere in search of it. We are afraid that if he exceeds the 3-day time limit the holy priest has imposed, the band-tightening spell may be said. We have come in the first place to pay our respects, and in the second to ask for an extension of the limit. I won't recite it, I promise, answered Sanzang as soon as he heard this. As they were talking, Pig came rushing in again to grab hold of the Star of Blessing and demand some fruit from him. He started to feel in the star's sleeves and rummage around his waist, pulling his clothes apart as he searched everywhere. What sort of behavior is that? asked Sanzang with a smile. I'm not misbehaving, said Pig. This is what's meant by the saying, blessings wherever you look. Sanzang shouted at him to go away again. The idiot withdrew slowly, glaring at the Star of Blessing with unwavering hatred in his eyes. I wasn't angry with you, you moron, said the star. So why do you hate me so? I don't hate you, said Pig. This is what they call turning the head and seeing blessing. As the idiot was going out, he saw a young boy came in with 4 tea ladles, looking for bowls in the abbot's cell, in which to put fruit and serve tea. Pig seized one of the ladles, ran to the main hall of the temple, snatched up a handbell, and started striking it wildly. He was enjoying himself enormously when the great immortal said, "This monk gets more and more disrespectful." "I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being disrespectful," Pig replied. I'm bringing in happiness for the 4 seasons. While Pig was having his jokes and making trouble, Monkey had bounded away from Penglay by an auspicious cloud and come to the magic mountain Fang's-Hang. This is a really wonderful place. As the poem goes, the towering Fang's-Hang is another heaven, where gods and immortals meet in the palace of the great unity. The purple throne illuminates the road to the 3 pure ones. The scent of flowers and trees drifts among the clouds. Many a golden phoenix comes to rejoice around its flowery portals. What makes the fields of magical mushrooms glisten like jade? Pale peaches and purple plums are newly ripened. ready to give even longer life to the immortals. But as Monkey brought his cloud down, he was in no mood to enjoy the view. As he was walking along, he smelt a fragrance in the wind, heard the cry of the black stork, and saw an immortal. The sky was filled with radiant light, as multicolored clouds shone and glowed. Red phoenixes looked brighter than the flowers in their beaks, sweetly sang green ones as they danced in flight. His blessings were as great as the eastern sea, his age that of a mountain. Yet his face was a child's, and his body was strong. In a bottle he kept his pills of eternal youth, and a charm for everlasting life hung from his waist. He had often sent blessings down to mankind, several times saving mortals from difficulties. He once gave longer life to Emperor Wu, and always went to the peach banquets at the Jade Pool. He taught all monks to cast off worldly fates. His explanations of the Great Way were clear as lightning. He had crossed the seas to pay his respects, and had seen the Buddha on the Vulture Peak.
Highest ranked immortal of the mists and cloud.
When Brother Monkey saw him, he hailed him with the words, "I salute you, Lord Emperor." The Lord Emperor hastened to return his greeting and say, "I should have welcomed you properly, great sage. May I ask you home for some tea?"
He led Monkey by the hand to his palace of cowrie shells, where
There was no end of jasper pools and jade towers. They were sitting waiting for their tea when a boy appeared from behind an emerald screen. This is how he looked. A Taoist robe that sparkled with color hung from his body, and light gleamed from the silken sash round his waist. On his head, he wore a turban with the sign of the stars of the Dipper, and the grass sandals on his feet had climbed all the magical mountains. He was refining his true being, shuffling off his shell, and when he had finished, he would reach unbounded bliss. His understanding had broken through to the origins, and his master knew that he was free from mistakes. Avoiding fame and enjoying the present, he had one long life, and did not care about the passing of time. He had been along the crooked portico, climbed to the precious hall, and 3 times received the peaches of heaven. Clouds of incense appeared to rise from behind the emerald screen. This young immortal was Dong Feng Shu himself. "So, you're here, you young thief," said Monkey with a smile when he saw him. "There are no peaches for you to steal here in the Lord Emperor's palace." Dong Feng Shu greeted him respectfully and replied, "What are you come for, you old thief? My master doesn't keep any pills of immortality here for you to pinch." "Stop talking nonsense, Man Queen," the Lord Emperor shouted. "And bring some tea." Nanking was Dong Feng Shu's Taoist name. He hurried inside and brought out 2 cups of tea. When the 2 of them had drunk it, Monkey said, "I came here to ask you to do something for me."
I wonder if you'd be prepared to. What is it? The Lord Emperor asked.
"Do tell me." "I have been escorting the Tang priest on his journey to the west," Monkey replied, "and our route took us via the Westland Temple on the mountain of infinite longevity. The youths there were so ill-mannered that I lost my temper and knocked their man-fruit tree over. We've been held up for a while as a result, and the Tang priest cannot get away, which is why I have come to ask you, sir, to give me a formula that will cure it." "I do hope that you will be good enough to agree." "You thoughtless ape," the Lord Emperor replied, "you make trouble wherever you go." Master Xinguan of the Wusunang Temple has the sacred title Conjoint Lord of the Age, and he is the patriarch of the immortals of the earth. Why ever did you clash with him? That man-fruit tree of his is grass-returning cinnabar. It was criminal enough of you to steal some of the fruit and knocking the tree over. Makes it impossible for him ever to make it up with you. "True," said Monkey. "When we escaped, he caught up with us and swept us into his sleep as if we were so many sweat rags, which made me furious. However, he had to let me go and look for a formula that would cure it, which is why I've come to ask your help. I have a 9-phase returning pill, the Great Monad, but it can only bring animate objects back to life, not trees. Trees are lives compounded of the wood and earth elements and nurtured by heaven and earth. If it were an ordinary immortal tree, I could bring it back to life, but the mountain of infinite longevity is the blessed land of the former heaven, the Wusunang Temple is the cave paradise of the western continent of Cow Gift, and the man-fruit tree is the life root from the time when heaven and earth were separated. How could it possibly be revived? I have no formula, none at all. In that case, I must take my leave," replied Monkey, and went. The Lord Emperor tried to detain him with a cup of jade nectar. He said, "This is too urgent to allow me to stay." He rode his cloud back to the island of Yingzhou, another wonderful place, as this poem shows. Trees of pearls glowed with a purple haze. The Yingzhou palaces led straight to the heavens. Blue hills, green rivers, and the beauty of exquisite flowers. Jade mountains as hard as iron. Pheasants called at the sunrise over the sea. Long-lived phoenixes breathe in the red clouds. People, do not look so hard at the scenery in your jar. Beyond the world of phenomena is an eternal spring. On reaching Yingzhou, he saw a number of white-haired immortals with the faces of children playing chess and drinking under a pearl tree at the foot of a cinnabar cliff. They were laughing and singing. As the poem says, there were light-filled auspicious clouds, perfume floating in a blessed haze. Brilliant phoenixes singing at the mouth of a cave, black cranes dancing on a mountaintop. Pale green lotus root and peaches helped their wind down. Pears and fiery red dates gave them 1,000 years of life. Neither of them had ever heard an imperial edict, but each was entered on the list of immortals. They drifted and floated with the waves, free and easy in unsullied elegance. The passage of the days could not affect them. Their freedom was guaranteed by heaven and earth. Black apes come in pairs, looking most charming as they present fruit. White deer, bowing 2 by 2, thoughtfully offer flowers. These old men were certainly living a free and happy life. How about letting me play with you? Monkey shouted at the top of his voice. And when the immortals saw him, they hurried over to welcome him. There is a poem to prove it that goes, when the magic flute of the man-fruit tree was broken, the great sage visited the immortals in search of a cure. Winding their way through the vermilion mist, the 9 ancients came out of the precious forest to greet him. Monkey, who knew the 9 ancients, said with a smile, "You seem to be doing very nicely." "If you had stayed on straight and narrow in the old days, great sage," they replied, "and not wrecked the heavenly palace, you would be doing even better than we are. Now, we hear that you have reformed and are going west to visit the Buddha. How did you manage the time off to come here?" Monkey told them how he was searching for a formula to cure the tree. "What a terrible thing to do!" they exclaimed in horror. "What a terrible thing. We honestly have no cure at all. In that case, I must take my leave of you." The 9 ancients tried to detain him with jasper wine and jade lotus root, but Monkey refused to sit down and stayed on his feet while he drank only 1 cup of wine and ate only 1 piece of lotus root. Then he hurried away from Yingzhou and back to the great Eastern Ocean. When he saw that Potaraka was not far away, he brought his cloud down to land on the Potara Crag, where he saw the Bodhisattva Guanyin in expounding the scriptures and preaching the Buddha's law to all the great gods of heaven, Moksha, and the dragon maiden in the purple bamboo grove. The poem about it goes, "Think the mist round the lofty city of the sea's mistress, and no end to the greater marvels to be seen. The Shaolin Temple really has the true flavor, with the scent of flowers and fruit, and the trees all red." The Bodhisattva saw Monkey arrive and ordered the great guardian god of the mountain to go and welcome him. The god emerged from the bamboo grove and shouted, "Where are you going, Monkey?" "You bad monster," Monkey shouted back. "How dare you address me as Monkey? If I hadn't spared your life that time, you'd have been just a demon's corpse on the Black Wind Mountain. Now, you've joined the Bodhisattva, accepted enlightenment, and come to live on this blessed island where you hear the law being taught all the time. Shouldn't you address me as sir?" It was indeed thanks to Monkey that the black bear had been enlightened and was now guarding the Bodhisattva's Potaraka as one of the great gods of heaven, so all he could do was to force a smile and say, "The ancients said, great sage, that a gentleman does not bear grudges. Why should you care about what you're called? Anyhow, the Bodhisattva has sent me to welcome you." Monkey then became grave and serious as he went into the purple bamboo grove with the great god and did obeisance to the Bodhisattva. "How far has the Tang priest got, Monkey?" she asked. "He has reached the mountain of infinite longevity in the western continent of cattle gifts," Monkey replied. "Have you met the great immortal Zen Yuan, who lives in the Wuthong Temple on that mountain?"
she asked.
"As your disciple didn't meet the great immortal Zen Yuan when I was in the Wuthong Temple," replied Monkey, bowing down to the ground. "I destroyed his man-fruit tree and offended him. As a result, my master is in a very difficult position and can make no progress." "You wretched ape," said the Bodhisattva angrily now that she knew about it. "You have no conscience at all. That man-fruit tree of his is the life root from the time when heaven and earth were separated, and Master Zenwan is the patriarch of the earth's immortals, which means even I have to show him a certain respect. Why? Ever did you harm this tree? Monkey bowed once more and said, I really didn't know. He was away that day, and there were only 2 immortal youths to look after us. When Pig heard that they had this fruit, he wanted to try one, so I stole 3 for him, and we had 1 each. They swore at us, no end. When they found out, so I lost my temper and knocked the tree over. When he came back the next day, he chased us and caught us all up in his sleeve. We were tied up and flogged for a whole day. We got away that night, but he caught up with us and put us in his sleeve again. All our escape attempts failed, so I promised him I'd put the tree right. I've been searching for a formula all over the seas and been to all 3 islands of immortals, but the gods and immortals are all useless, which is why I decided to come and worship you, Bodhisattva, and tell you all about it. I beg you in your mercy to grant me a formula so that I can save the tame priest and have him on his way west again as soon as possible. Why didn't you come and see me earlier instead of searching the islands for it? The Bodhisattva asked. I'm in luck, thought Monkey with delight when he heard this. I'm in luck. The Bodhisattva must have a formula. He went up to her and pleaded for it again. That sweet dew in this pure vase of mine, she said, is an excellent cure for magic trees and plants. Has it ever been tried out? Monkey asked. Yes, she said. How? He asked. Some years ago, Lord Laozi beat me at gambling. She replied and took my willow sprig away with him. He put it in his elixir refining furnace and burnt it to a cinder before sending it back to me. I put it back in the vase, and a day and a night later it was as green and leafy as ever. I'm really in luck, said Monkey, really in luck. If it can bring a cinder back to life, something that has only been pushed over should be easy. The Bodhisattva instructed her subjects to look after the grove as she was going away for a while.
And she took up her vase, and her white parrot went in front singing while Monkey followed behind. And
The poem goes, the jade-haired golden one is hard to describe to mortals. She truly is a compassionate deliverer. Although in eons past she had known the spotless Buddha, now she had acquired a human form. After several lives in the sea of suffering, she had purified the waves, and in her heart, there was no speck of dust. The sweet dew that had long undergone the miraculous law was bound to give the magic tree eternal life. The gray immortal and the 3 stars were still in lofty conversation when they saw Monkey bring his cloud down and heard him shout, the Bodhisattva's here. Come and welcome her at once. The 3 stars and Master Zhengwan hurried out with Sanzang and his disciples to greet her. On bringing her cloud to a stop, she first talked with Master Zhengwan and then greeted the 3 stars, after which she climbed to her seat. Monkey then led the tang. Priest, Pig, and Friar sat out to do obeisance before the steps, and all the immortals in the temple came to bow to her as well. There's no need to dither about, great immortal, said Monkey. Get an incense table ready at once and ask the Bodhisattva to cure that whatever it is tree of yours. The great immortal Zhenwan bowed to the Bodhisattva and thanked her. How could I be so bold as to trouble the Bodhisattva with my affairs? The tame priest is my disciple, and Monkey has offended you, so it is only right that I should make up for the loss of your priceless tree. In that case, there is no need for you to refuse, said the 3 stars.
May we invite you, Bodhisattva, to come into our orchard and take a look.
The great sage had an incense table set up and the orchard swept. Then he asked the Bodhisattva to lead the way. The 3 stars followed behind. Sanzang, his disciples, and all the immortals of the temple went into the orchard to look. And they saw the tree lying on the ground with the earth torn open, its roots laid bare, its leaves fallen, and its branches withered. Put your hand out, Monkey, said the Bodhisattva. And Brother Monkey stretched out his left hand. The Bodhisattva dipped her willow spray into the sweet dew in her vase, then used it to write a spell to revive the dead on the palm of Monkey's hand. She told him to place it on the roots of the tree until he saw water coming out. Monkey clenched his fist and tucked it under the roots. Before long, a spring of clear water began to form a pool. That water must not be sullied by vessels made of any of the 5 elements. So you'll have to skip it out with a jade ladle? If you prop the tree up and pour the water on it from the very top, its bark and trunk will knit together. Its leaves will sprout again. The branches will be green once more, and the fruit will reappear. Fetch a jade ladle this moment. Young Taoist, said Monkey. We, poor monks, have no jade ladle in our destitute temple. We only have jade, tea bowls, and wine cups. What they do? As long as they're jade and can scoop out water, they will do, the Bodhisattva replied. Bring them out and try. The great immortal then told some boys to fetch the 20 or 30 tea bowls and the 40 or 50 wine cups and ladle the clear water out from under the roots. Monkey, Pig, and Friar Sand put their shoulders under the tree, raised it upright, and banked it up with earth. Then they presented the sweet spring water cup by cup to the Bodhisattva, who sprinkled it lightly on the tree with her spray of willow and recited an incantation. When a little later the water had all been sprinkled on the tree, the leaves really did become as dense and green as ever, and there were 23 man fruits growing there. Pure and in bright moon, the two immortal boys said. When the fruit disappeared the other day, there were only 22 of them. So why is there an extra one? Now that it has come back to life? Time shows the truth about a man.
He stole 3 that day.
And one fell on the ground. And the local deity told me that this treasure always entered Earth when it touched it. Pig accused me of taking it as a bit of extra for myself and blackened my reputation. But at long last the truth has come out. The reason why I did not use vessels made from the 5 elements was because I knew that this kind of fruit is allergic to them, said the Bodhisattva. The great immortal, now extremely happy, had the golden rod fetched at once and knocked down 10 of the fruits. He invited the Bodhisattva and the 3 stars to come to the main hall of the temple to take part a man for new feast, to thank them for their labors. All the junior immortals arranged tables, chairs, and cinnabar bowls. The Bodhisattva was asked to take the seat of honor with the 3 stars on her left, the Tang priest on her right, and Master Zen Yuan facing her as the host. They ate 1 fruit each, and there were some lines about it. In the ancient earthly paradise on the mountain of infinite longevity, the man fruit ripens once in 9,000 years. When the magic roots were bared and the branches dead, the sweet dew brought leaves and fruit back to life. The happy meeting of the 3 stars was predestined. It was fated that the 4 monks would encounter one another. Now that they have eaten the man fruit at this feast, they will all enjoy everlasting youth. The Bodhisattva and the 3 stars ate 1 each, as did the Tang priest, who realized at last that this was an immortal's treasure, and Monkey, Pig, and Friar Sand. Monkey, Pig, and Friar Sand. Master Zen Yuan had 1 to keep them company. And the immortals of the temple divided the last one between them. Monkey thanked the Bodhisattva, who went back to Potoraka and saw the 3 stars off on their journey home to the island of Penglay. Master Zen Yuan set out some non-alcoholic wine and made Monkey his sworn brother. This was a case of if you don't fight, you can't make friends, and their 2 households were now united. That night, Sanzang and his disciples went to bed feeling very happy. That venerable priest had now been lucky enough to eat the grass, returning senator, gaining long life and resistance to fiends and monsters. Listen to the next installment to hear how they took their leave the next day.